Hi guys. Some time ago I was doing a personal examination, something like that, and I just noticed that I wasn't really growing spiritually. So I'm talking about spiritual growth. I'm saying that I was actually going to church. I'm a worker. I was serving in my department as I should, but I noticed that I wasn't giving him so much time to prayer, so much time to studying God's word, to meditate. Having that personal relationship with the Holy Spirit wasn't so constant. I was having a lot of excuses. I was busy, work, some other stuff. And I was just thinking about, like, what can I do? What can I do to solve this problem? And the Holy Spirit just whispered to me, told me, said, the reason why you have stopped growing, the reason why you stopped placing priority to your study of God's word, or you having personal time with me, is because you want to do it out of comfort. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that if we want to dedicate our time to fellowshipping with God, to ensure that we're growing spiritually, if we want to be intentional about it, then comfort is kind of not part of the equation. And I'm not saying when you're serving God you won't be happy, or when you're growing spiritually you won't be happy. The kind of comfort I'm talking about is the comfort of the flesh. So you hear the voice of God asking you to spend time in prayer, but your body is asking for sleep, or you're sleeping and God wakes you up and asks for a few minutes with you, but the body is weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And that's why in the book of Corinthians we're made to understand that the flesh should always be against the spirit. So when we want to do things out of comfort, we're actually trying to do spiritual things when the flesh, how do I place it? We want to serve God, yes, we want to grow spiritually, we want to take our time to study God's word, to pray, etc. And we also want to be comfortable in the flesh, right? We want to be prayer giants, we want to be prayer warriors, and we still want to be eating 5 square meals a day. So what I'm saying is, it's either one or the other. So I remember there's this chapter in my book Break Free, when I was talking about um things you have to do to break out of addiction, and this principle is actually applicable to any aspect of life, whether it's about addiction. It's actually effective for spiritual growth. It's the fact that you have to choose one. You nourish one or the other. You can't be in between. It's either you are feeding the flesh or you are feeding your spirit man. It's either you are taking out time to strengthen your spirit man, or you are taking out time to strengthen your desires of the flesh. So it's one or the other. You can't choose. You can't say you want to grow spiritually and you want your flesh to be comfortable. There is nothing spiritual that is comfortable for the flesh. So I'm not saying you will not eat food, I'm not saying you will not sleep, but I'm saying there are sacrifices that must be made. Sacrifices must be made in Kanayo's voice, yes. So what I'm saying in essence is that you have to be intentional, and in that point where you are being intentional, you should have it in mind that you're going to have to make sacrifices that won't be comfortable for the flesh. But the truth is, the more you do these things, the more it gets easier for you, the more it's easier for you to attain greater heights, right? If you start praying 5 minutes every day, before you know, unconsciously that timing is going to increase to 10 minutes. Before you know, you're doing 30 minutes without issues, right? So bottom line of everything I'm saying today is, if you really want to grow spiritually, you want to sustain your walk with God, then don't even think that you would do that in the comfort of the flesh. You would have to make sacrifices, right? And yeah, so that's all I have for us today. I hope this blesses you. See you next.